Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very important.
Good morning. Welcome to another week of Dubai Works Business Podcast. This week I have the pleasure of being joined with Massimo Cannizzo, the CEO and co-founder of GELLIFY Middle East. Massimo specializes in the space of innovative technologies across multiple industries and countries, most recently in a distinguished career, including a 5-year tenure in aerospace systems in the US. He held the role of global data strategy lead at Accenture Strategy and has been in Dubai, in the UAE since 2012. Today we'll be talking about the consultancy space, the startup space, and what GELLIFY specializes in, and why mindset is important in digital transformation. And we'll move on to the opportunity in the Middle East region. Good morning, Massimo.
Good morning to you. Thank you for hosting this interview. I think it will be interesting to exchange some ideas.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for joining. I think on the offset, people know how important consultancy is to businesses and how a big a business it is. Can you give the people who aren't in this space an overview to what business consultants do?
Sure, with pleasure. My experience after more 25 years in consultancy, I made a decision that something different was needed in the market. So the reason why I opened GELLIFY in the Middle East, that is actually replicating what is the model of GELLIFY in Europe, is exactly addressing this need. I saw a fragmentation in the market because actually there are very good consulting firms that are providing very important strategies and designs. And there are also startups with the fantastic solutions that requires for sure investment to grow and scale up. And I saw a lot of investors and VC that are keen to support the startups, and incubators that are helping the startups, supporting them from a logistic point of view, maybe some commercial enablement and so on. But actually the need in the market, especially to foster innovation at speed, was to have somebody that was going to provide this kind of services all together in order to shortcut and create the glue between the different actors and speed up this. So consultancy, yes, we do consultancy in GELLIFY. We do advisory in innovation and also consultancy and implementation support in the digital transformations. But this is not the only thing we do. We do also incubation of startups, and we help them from an investment point of view, from a technical and technology advisory and commercial advisory in order to help them to go to the market. But we don't stop at advisory. We help them really to go to the market. So we get channel to the corporate because of our position also in the consulting. And last but not least, we enable the investments. So we attract investors. We partner with VCs, we co-invest with VCs in order to create what is called the GELLIFY portfolio. GELLIFY portfolio at the moment in Europe counts 25 startups in the area of artificial intelligence, blockchain, virtual reality, cybersecurity, and industrial IoT, where we invested already about $25 million in order to help this company to grow. And in 3 years, GELLIFY was able to manage already 3 exits with a very high return for the investors and for the startup itself.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So basically, in the new era that we're in, with different types of emerging technologies, IoT, and different sort of spaces emerging, it's provided an opportunity for a new ecosystem of services, of which your company is designed to provide.
Yes, correct. You use the right term, that is the ecosystem. Actually, the transactions, as we saw before in the past, are not anymore between one client and one provider, but all the most interesting projects are done at ecosystem level with the partnership and collaboration between different entities that are able to create the digital business connecting the dots. So this is exactly our philosophy. No, we don't want to own all the service we provide. We like the idea to orchestrate and to help our customers to orchestrate different entities, different contributors, different startups in order to build what is the best solution for at the end for the customer, for the consumer.
It makes you more agile. I think I was listening to something that the CEO of Microsoft said in his book Hit Refresh, Satya Nadella, and it talked about that as well in terms of we're not just a competitor to Google or Apple. We're both a competitor and a customer, and we compete vigorously on both sides. And I think that's an interesting comparison, because in this modern world we're in, it's not about a zero-sum game. You can't own one service or one area. You have to have partnerships. You have to be fluid. You have to adapt to the different customer wants and needs. So I think it's interesting that you've done that from a concept level.
Yes, exactly. I fully agree on the concept, and this is exactly what we are doing. We are enabling the digital ecosystem and the innovation ecosystem from different angles. And in particular, as you said, we don't have competitors. We have only partners and collaborators, because at the end, in the digital world, the real key success factor is the differentiation from the competitors. So each one wants to create a digital business, has to invent something new. Because if you copy paste the others' practices, of course, you cannot win. So in this innovation world, the competition is just on who is having the idea, the ability to realize the idea, orchestrating the right entity. As I said, so speed is everything.
Yeah, I think when a startup needs services, they're actually not sure which services they need, and I think we actually started in Astrolabs in the UAE, and we were one of the only media tech companies there. But I could see that at the time, many people referred to marketing as growth hacking. So, they didn't necessarily, when they were looking at marketing, they weren't looking at advertising agencies or digital agencies. They were looking for different types of expertise and services. And I guess what you're saying is equal in consultancy. If a startup goes to one of the big consultancy groups, they may not be prepared, or maybe they will. I don't want to say they're not, but the price point and the different things. And equally, you mentioned the funding side. Startups need help across those things. They need help with strategy and positioning. They need help with marketing, which they might call growth hacking, and they need help with how to raise some money. So rather than having three big companies and having budgets for each of those services, I think it's quite innovative that you can provide that.
Yeah, exactly. This is you got the point. I mean, working with the startups, even more, I want to say, GELLIFY was funded by former startups who were very successful startups in the B2B space, with fantastic exits done for big system integrators like IBM and Accenture and so on. So what they learned in this experience is that a startup in scaling up needs not only enablement. It doesn't need just an help. It really needs to be, let me say, enabled, presented, and brought in front of the market. So that's the reason why GELLIFY created a model that, okay, a startup needs funds and we are able to invest. If we believe in the startup, we are able to invest with our portfolio in the startup. The startup needs technology help because maybe some skills, some expertise are not in the startup. We are able to help them to fill the gaps that they have technically. They need to go to the market and push them on the market, and we help them to sell. So we do a joint go to market with the startups in order to fit the purpose of the customers and satisfy their needs. This is much appreciated by the customers itself. I mean, when I say customers, I say the corporates, because corporates actually love the idea to work with startups, but sometimes the management style and also the size of the companies are so different that there is not so much communication of understanding, mutual understanding between corporates and startups. This is again a role that we play in helping startups to fill the needs of fulfill the needs of the corporates, helping them to fill the gaps that they could have. And this is everybody, including the investors, that see this kind of go-to-market much more safe and sure than only single go-to-market of a startup with some digital marketing advisory by an agency that you described. By the way, we do also media agency. We have also digital marketing for our startups, but this is not enough. We need to package the projects, including and embedding the startups to the corporates.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the technologies and the trends in the startup space that we're seeing, but just to stay on the incumbents and the consultancy space for now. I actually met a friend who worked at Accenture at the weekend, and one of your former employees. So I researched their market cap, and it's $129 billion or something like that. And I was fascinated because I knew that consultancy was big in the services space, but even the biggest advertising conglomerates in the world are 1/5 of that size. So what makes up, how are they that big? And do you think that, it's the same with the advertising industry and the media industry? There's a lot of innovation from within. I remember when the CEO of WPP left a couple of years ago, Sir Martin Sorrell, people were very, not very positive on the future of the business model, but his view was that there's so much brains and intelligence within the advertising business that those people can reinvent the business. Is that the same thinking in consultancy? Are these incumbents reinventing themselves? Is this markup and is this space future proof, do you think?
A paid service and so on. These kind of things are differentiating the small player like GELLIFY from the big ones. Actually, we collaborate with the bigger system integrators, because actually we are complementary. We are not able to do a migration to an SAP project around the world in 50 countries, but at the same time, we believe we are smarter and faster in developing maybe an MVP for a company that wants to enable the digital business leveraging artificial intelligence, for example. So I think that in the future, this will not stay like this. I think that the big consulting firms will review their organization in order to break the monolith and create more specialized niche companies in the group under a coordination of a single brand, but with the single autonomy in the go-to-market, because otherwise this will create some clash between the demand and the kind of response that is sometimes in this monolithic organization a bit slow.
I think some of the ideas that are generally accepted in business is that big means you have capital and resources, and that you've got history and legacy and expertise, but it always also means that you're slow. Why do you think that is? Why do we put the words agile and speed with smaller either business units or entrepreneurs? Why are big companies perceived to be slow?
Actually, this is a consequence of the size. I mean, we are a market where especially the companies that are listed in the markets need to grow. And growing means that the size is increasing. And then the complexity of orchestrating such a big company is creating this lack of speed. As I said, I don't think they can manage anymore to create to keep this model. More federated model will create the autonomy of single companies that are focusing in niche markets, in niche specialties or industries, even if orchestrated under the same brand. So I repeat this, but it's important because today a big company like IBM or Accenture or Deloitte or Capgemini and so on, these companies need, when it comes to an advanced digital health product, they compete with the niche companies that do only health or life, and they are very specialized. They develop prototypes of things that are not existing in the world. So I think that this is kind of competition is possible only if also these big conglomerates creates at a certain point niche companies within their organization.
But do you think that, so let's talk about kind of the last few months. How do you think in general, if we pick maybe the cloud or the SaaS or the technology space an example, or maybe if you want to talk about aerospace, how do you think companies have responded to the global pandemic? Have you seen big companies respond fast and well, or do you think that the smaller niche, more agile companies have done well?
Yeah, actually, the difference was not in the way to react. It was not in the size of the company. It was more in the readiness of the company.
Interesting.
Related to size, but not too much. I mean, the key role in this pandemic was the one of digital. I mean, the companies were digital ready could continue to do the business without any kind of problem. For example, I am in this kind of business in global consulting since a while, and for me was nothing. I mean, okay, to work in conference call, in video conference instead of physical meeting is something that I do since 10 years.
Yeah.
And this was not a problem for me or for many of my colleagues and so on. Other companies were completely blocked and couldn't switch on this channel easily. But I don't want to stay only talking about the smart working, because smart working at the end is really a small piece of the enablement of it. But what we learned during the pandemic is the key importance to have a digital business, a digital platform to do business that is able to allow to us to do the traditional work in a completely different way, but also to create a new kind of business, a new kind of revenues leveraging these digital services. So who the companies in the logistics, in the retail, in the hospitality, in all the markets were able already to create or to operate a platform, digital platform, was impacted less. Those that didn't have this had a big impact, and they had somehow a showstopper in this pandemic. But everybody understood the lesson, and now everybody is looking for how to start a digital business. We host, as GELLIFY, we host every week a webinar in this Black Swan series that we call Future Proof Your Business with Black Swan Capabilities, to investigate case by case, areas by areas, which are the components, which are the ingredients of the way to go out from this crisis and to lead in the new normal. For example, next week we will have this webinar that is deep diving on the digital business platform, and in particular, we will have a look at the innovation in healthcare, in hospitality, and in education. These are the three industries that many are impacted, but these three, for us, are the one that are mostly transformed by this kind of experience. Will have a boost in different direction, but in any case, hospitality has to reinvent itself. Healthcare is is in the middle of the stage with all the spotlights on it. Education, I mean, we learned that people from, for example, UAE doesn't need to fly to Harvard to attend Harvard, and
That's
this is
interesting.
also changing the mindset.
Yeah.
So we will have next week an interesting panel of university professors, specialists, and experts of these industries to discuss this, because we want to see with them, want to tell ideas on how these technologies can improve their business. For example, in healthcare now it is possible since a while actually to have a visit with a physician without going to the physician itself somehow, and to manage also the surgery remotely. But even more, for example, we will tell more during the webinar, but we are working with a company called Anuralogic. Anuralogic created a product called Anura. It's incredible. It's a video intelligence, a video analytics tool with artificial intelligence that is able to catch your face for 30 seconds and giving you, after these 30 seconds plus some processing, a number of diagnostics about, first of all, the vital KPIs like blood pressure, temperature, and so on. And this is easy. But also possible risk for specific pathologies like diabetes or some others, just taking the video. And this is amazing, you know. The accuracy has been launched 1 month ago. The accuracy is about 90% of cases that there is when there is a flag of a risk for a pathology, and 90% of the cases they are right. This is an example of how you can disrupt completely, you know, the market of healthcare. And also the way to look at healthcare from a patient point of view. So the patient is not anymore looking at healthcare only something to go to get a service when the pathology happens, but it's something to wear. For example, I'm aware this sensor with me every time to monitor my health and to prevent that I will need to go to the hospital because I manage my health proactively. So this is completely changing. It's a completely changing the mindset.
Do you think? So a lot to unpack there. We can stick with the healthcare sector, and even education. But you know, do you think that over the last decade or so, and I think it's interesting that you bring up the example of you being ready, because I think, you know, the consultancy space and has always been remote working and been able to work in different offices, and that's part of the services that you provided and still do. So I think that's interesting that how ready that it was. But often people talk about digital transformation and then disruption, and we've seen narratives in the startup space about VC money and disrupting a whole industry, or the Uberization of, or this sort of narrative. But do you think that maybe in the last few months we've learned that digital transformation has been democratized, and that you don't necessarily need to completely disrupt? You can actually partner with you know, you can kind of use open source and partner with the experts, but you can still have your bricks and mortar, and you can just have add on a little digital way, whether it's WhatsApp or whether it's having webinars or whether it's things like this, that there's actually a marriage, a middle ground of the bricks and mortar, of the Ubers, and then we're all meeting in the middle now.
Yeah, yeah, you are highlighting something very important. It is in the core of what we said before about the digital ecosystem. You know, in the digital ecosystem world, you don't need to own essentially everything to do the business. You need to partner with who has the components that you need. I mean, just an example, the usual one, you know, Uber. Uber is an example how you can skip to have a car, to own a car, because you can have a shared car like Uber. But even you can be a taxi company without owning the cars, because Uber doesn't own cars. No? So this is an example of how you can do digital business without a strong asset exposure. No? And even look at in the small case of us. I mean, GELLIFY Middle East was launched during the pandemic, during the lockdown. We opened at the end of January. We just did the announcement, the first meeting with the press agents and so on, and then lockdown. So what we could do? We planned to do fantastic opening events on the Palm and so on, but it could not be happening. But we didn't.
You adapted, yeah.
Because we leverage the digital agencies, we leverage the technology of Zoom and so on. And we launched this webinar series that is attended by hundreds of people and so on. And we could do without owning a channel like you own, but we were able in any case to do our business. So yes, reactivity, speed, and the ability to mesh up the different components from a business point of view as needed, and very dynamically and very agile. This is the key of the digital transformation. Digital transformation in the past was not always well addressed for two reasons, I think. There are failures in digital transformation. One that was managed even by consultants, let me say, exactly like was managed 1 decade before the IT transformation. No? So I do an assessment, I tell you what you need to do the next 3 years, and I give you a plan with a business case of $30, $50 million to do all the digital transformation. And this is not in the digital philosophy. We need to identify the MVPs and the prototype and the pilots that we need to do with $1 million in the next year, maybe, or 6 months, even next 3 months, even with less than 1 million, in order to move on. And with the results and with the learnings of these minimal viable products, you can learn the next wave. So the planning is changing, the management technique is changing, the business case, the way to do business case is completely different. And this was one. The second one was the underestimation on the impact on humans, on people. I mean, digital from technology point of view, I mean, we have more technology than we can use. This is the reality, no? At the moment. The technology is at the level that we could really theoretically change the life of people in few years, but the people will not change the life easily, because there is a cultural
human behavior. Yeah.
So digital transformation, I did many kind as a consultant. I saw many times. The budgets are maybe 95% spent on technology and system integration and consultants, and maybe very small 5%, 3% on change management, on re-education of the people, on changing the mindset, on coaching, because actually what is needed is especially the leaders from a different generation needs to be coached how to become digitally, mentally, how to become data-driven. And this is something that is not consulting, is not system integration, is pure coaching. It needs psychological skills and not technical skills. And this is something that in digital transformation is needed, because we don't use the tool to do things. We don't change, sorry, the tool to do things, but we change completely the way things are done. And this needs a completely shift, mental shift. That we observe also from the thought leaders. The skill of the future will be not engineering, rational, and organizational mindset, but creativity, intuition, ability to improvise a solution, speed, data-driven, and pragmatism. I think these are the key skills of the future.
Very interesting. On digital transformation, we can talk about sectors, whether it's ed tech or health tech or prop tech, and all the innovation that's happening there. And there will probably be many successes as those industries are disrupted and evolve. But there's probably not a zero sum again. You mentioned the Harvard example. A friend of mine has just started an MIT course from Dubai, and maybe will join at some point in the year. But then before he joined it, he sent me this video, this new mobile app, which is an MBA in micro learning. So 5 minutes every day, and you get an MBA over 2 years. So in a way, there's the Harvard, there's Visit, there's the whole history of education and the business model, the fees, the time that's invested, and then there's the micro learning. But actually, the part in the middle is probably the best of both worlds, because how can you get the full experience from a mobile app 5 minutes every day? And to kind of ask the question around, if you're advising with your clients with this medical discovery, and you're working with a hospital or a clinic chain in Dubai or in the UAE or across the region, how do you advise them? What do you say to them with that example?
Yeah, I think that the remote working, the smart working is letting us know things that can be done remotely, and this will be good because we can reduce the travel and the carbon footprint of our services and so on. At the same time, we cannot do the mistake to think that everything can be done in this way. This example of micro learning, this example of remote education that I said, this is possible. This is possible, but we cannot expect that somebody can learn the spirit that you have attending Cambridge, if you go to Cambridge, while sitting in Thailand or in Dubai or in Brazil. No? Because actually the network of people you create there that will be probably with you for the rest of your life, your career, you can also create remotely, but it's not the same. For example, in our projects, we do a lot of potential smart working, remote working, and so on. But when it comes, for example, to the design thinking activities that we do in order to design the user experience of our apps, of our solutions. And this is, it can be done via Zoom, but it's not the same if we are in the same room, a team of thinkers, of technical experts, of designers, of marketing people, and so on. And this brainstorming and this idea elaboration that is in the room requires empathic or empathetic, maybe better skills and attitudes and execution that maybe not always is possible to do through these channels. So we need to be smart. We need to be smart to remotize what is possible to do remotely, but not to exaggerate and to think that everything can be done remotely. So we need to be very selective in what to keep in order to leave the human factor, that is the most important part, still active and alive. So remove not the core, not the soul of the things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned empathy, and I think emotional intelligence is very important as we move to a more autonomous and as AI comes into things a lot more, especially in areas such as the medical field. Is You mentioned earlier that this was one of the trends that you see, technology and digital transformation of the medical field. Is that important? And how do companies go about adopting technologies and keeping the human part to it?
Yeah, actually, this is what exactly we do at GELLIFY. I share with you my view, but actually, this is the core of our way and approach at GELLIFY. We manage digital transformation in a very pragmatic and agile point of view, step by step, leveraging the native skills, digital and native and agile skills that GELLIFY has from the startup and from the former startups that are in GELLIFY. We leverage also this strong sensibility on human factors and we have an offer called Smart Human that is helping companies to change the behaviors and the mindset of employees. First of all, leadership, then employees, but especially the customer, even if customer is changing faster than employees sometimes. And then we enable the creation of use cases and pilots and so on, and also solutions that are enabling the cooperation between artificial intelligence and humans, and also robots and humans. So we created in Bologna a lab called Phygital Lab. Phygital because it's a mix of physical and digital. Where we implement solutions, but also collaboration models and behavioral models of collaboration in a specific business process. So it's not generic. It's applied to specific industries. How to collaborate, men and machines, humans and machines collaborate in specific business in order to see the good and the bad, and to let also appreciate the value of having a collaborator that can do things on our behalf at a much higher speed. It's an augmentation of our capabilities that should be perceived by the worker more than having a machine that can replace my job. This is something that has to be, of course, carefully planned in the strategies at company level to avoid this, but then also the employees needs to be educated that the future is on augmented, digitally augmented work, and to be able to leverage this augmentation, to appreciate it exactly like we appreciated when I was younger the personal computers.
Yeah.
My father appreciated the car, the first car instead of taking the bus, or my grandfather appreciated the steam machines. No, I think that is part of the evolution. We cannot resist. We need to leverage, and we need to surf this way in the positive way. We need to look at the new world coming as I said always, and I repeat many times, but I'm never tired to repeat that we need to look at this digital era like a human elevation era, no? Where we can do better things.
Nice.
Because the manual things can be mainly automated. And the Middle East has a big role on that. Since in the Middle East, we can observe the big passion and also concrete steps and projects and activities that in the Middle East, especially UAE, we can observe in creating, in prototyping what can be the future of the world, and the building the best place to live and work. Nice. And this is something that was the trigger of GELLIFY to open in GELLIFY in the Middle East, because actually we strongly believe on that. And we want to be part of this prototyping the future of the world.
Yeah. I'd like to, before we kind of go into that, because I would like to ask about the region specifically, just following on what you said about I like that analogy of enhancing us as humans with technology, but the current climate that we're in, okay, it's not the same maybe as a few months ago, But the IMF yesterday revised their forecasts significantly on a global contraction of GDP, 5 or 6%. That's significant. It's more than any of us really would have experienced in our lifetime, and visibly we will see the ramifications of that. For people investing in technology in the future, how can you avoid big mistakes in investments, especially if maybe the capital isn't there right now? What are the baby steps to take or the precautions to take that mistakes aren't made with betting the house on the future, for example?
This is a good question because now a lot of investors are making the same question to us because they see that the stocks market are in trouble. The real estate, it's even not in the best moment ever. So everybody's looking at investment in tech startups as a possible solution. Actually, I see two, let me say, tips that I want to share. One is there is a lot of attention on B2C technologies, B2C startups, while I think, and this is the reason why GELLIFY is focusing more on B2B startups, there is a much safer area of investment looking at the B2B startups. Because B2B has a higher probability of succeeding, The unicorns that we know from the B2C market and so on from Silicon Valley are fantastic, but these are very, very rare cases. Many B2C startups fail and close and shut down, the majority. The mortality of the B2B startups is much lower, and also the longevity of the startups is even higher now because there is more the adoption of a B2B solution is for a long time, it's not for short time. While I can change tomorrow the app to book my food in 1 second, so there is not so much lock-in between them and me. While if I adopt a solution to manage through blockchain my transaction in a safe way, probably I will use this at least for 5 years. I cannot change every day.
Interesting.
So B2B tech startups is the way. And the second is to be sure that the entity that is managing your investment is able to understand the right startups to invest on. So, as I said at the beginning of this interview, venture capitalists bring on board some technical skills in order to be able to select the right investments. But we believe that, for example, as GELLIFY, since we are former startuppers and former technology experts and so on, in our fund investment management, we do much more precise due diligence. So the investments that we do, since we do with our own money first, are trusted because investors are very happy to follow our investments because are done with our money, so means skin in the game, and from people who knows technology very well. So this is for example, the second tip is work with somebody who is able to do the right selection or where to. Don't improvise with people who are financially very good, but from a financial management point of view, but from a technology.
Exactly. Interesting. So good advice. So basically companies need to find something that fits their current situation in order to choose the right investments. Okay, moving on to the Middle East. So to set the scene, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, said a couple of years ago at the Future Investment Initiative that the Middle East can be the new Europe. And we see leadership initiatives in the UAE that are globally progressive, whether it's in the medical field or in the space industry, really setting the example across the region. we're in an emerging market. Do you think what do you think it takes for a market to emerge? You know, when I was growing up, I remember people saying China is going to be a global market, and at the time it was where counterfeit goods were from. And now it's safe to say that China has emerged. So, but however, at the time also, Brazil didn't emerge in the same way. So, and India now is emerging per se. So the question is, what do you think that the Middle East will emerge? Will it be a global market? Rather shake off the emerging market? And what do you think it takes to get there?
This is a good question and a good bet, actually. I am optimistic. So just to start with the right, because I believe in three pillars of my idea. No, okay, Middle East has the vision. Actually, if you read the Vision 2030 of Saudi Arabia, or the vision, even farther vision of 2071 of UAE and so on, actually, I found a lot of my beliefs of what will be the future of lifestyle and work style and on of technology with the right wisdom and so on. So the vision is there. The financial power is there, because at least, I mean, still the wealth situation is able to create the right investing. The enablement is there, because actually it's much easier to do. For example, to build a smart city in Europe is very complex, because they are politically impossible to let agree all parties in a very, because it's complex. Here in Middle East, the mechanism, the governance, the way to be very, very coordinated and very straight, I think it's increasing sensibly the ability and the probability of success. And last but not least, I mean, in any case, the future of oil is what it is. So in any case, there is the reason that these markets have to reinvent something completely different. But because of the previous factors, I think we will observe see this kind of shift of change. Of course, there are also threats that need to be addressed and so on. And in particularly, I think the inclusion and of expats is very important. I mean, all this can happen only if the Middle East becomes the best place to live and work, not for me only, but also for my son, for the son of my son, for the son of the son of my son. Daughter, of course.
Yeah.
Because all the countries emerging countries that were able to grow really is because of the ability to grow by generations of immigrants, and this is something that I think is the only way, and the only thing that needs still to be well addressed in the Middle East countries from the vision point of view.
That's a very optimistic view, and it's great to hear it. Thanks for sharing. But do you think, though, that it's solely, you know, that the expat role is as important as we might think it is? You know, given that the access point of Dubai is, you know, I think within 3 hours or 4 hours, there's 2 billion people. Some of the countries in the Middle East have 50, 60, 70, 80 million people. And in India or in China, what drove the markets to emerge were the 3 points that you mentioned. So the vision and the enablement as well, but also the indigenous population, the empowerment, and the regulation and incentives for people to be innovative and to believe that they can be. Is that what you're seeing with the startups that you're working with? Is it people from this region who are coming up with solutions that kind of fit this world?
Yeah, this is a good point. Actually, the boundaries of the digital world are for sure smoother than the past. No, actually, when you look at the digital world, you should not look at the borders of the company. So let me highlight a couple of things that are important. First of all, there is a big opportunity, no, for Middle East, for UAE, for Dubai, to create something that can be consumed, if it's a consumer solution, or adopted from a global point of view. No, I mean, people don't need to come to Dubai to use the Dubai digital services. No, let me say it easily. So the startups here in Middle East needs to develop something that can be exported globally. And on this side, GELLIFY also in our strategy we have also this, because actually we are pretty present. I mean, we're quite consolidated in Italy, Spain. We opened also in UK, and now in Middle East, in Dubai with the Dubai office, but soon we will have also in Abu Dhabi, in Riyadh, and so on. We can help also to bridge some local startup to this European market in order to increase, as you said very well, to increase the perimeter, no, of the target, potential target customers, no? Because the numbers of a company like UAE with the numbers of a company of a country like Germany is completely different, no? And Saudi, it's in the middle, but I think that is the only case, no? So I think that the size of consumers that can create a unicorn.
But you can look at maybe Tunisia, Egypt, Iraq. There's other big countries too.
Yeah. For sure, these others are able to leverage a bigger population, at least for the B2C I'm talking about.
Yeah, but it needs to be cross borders as well. That's an interesting concept.
Something like the B2C startups in the Silicon Valley unicorns like that can happen only if, for example, for a B2C startup that operate at GCC level minimum. A single country can have complexities in but I think why only GCC, no? So when I talk with local startups, I want to inspire also the idea that if you have a unique idea, if you have a very innovative idea, very disruptive idea, you need to go worldwide, because actually before others will anticipate you in the other countries.
Yeah.
So this is my idea, my suggestion. Middle Eastern startups needs to go worldwide.
Brilliant.
And we are to help in this way, at least for the countries where we are.
Great. That's a brilliant note to finish on, and looking forward to catching up when some of these companies emerge. Thanks for your time, Massimo, and great to see that you've launched and progressed during the pandemic.
Thank you very much, and looking forward in maybe to have also you and all the audience connected in our webinars on the Tuesdays. You can find on our webpage all the indication for this Black Swan series. It would be interesting.
So it's something you're going to continue weekly for now?
Actually, your good question. The next week is the last one of the series of 2 months that we did for the pandemic. We will continue. Is important. Now let's have the webinars to understand how to be leading the new future, being at edge from a digital business point of view.
Yeah.
So how to enable digital business more and more, how to change the technology, to change the people mindset, and to change the cultures in order to more and more digital business.
So for Tuesday's webinar, people can sign up on GELLIFY Middle East website. And what time?
Yeah, actually, it's also in Eventbrite. But if you can see all the series, also the replay of the previous in www.gellify.com/Middle East/ explore events.
Explore events.
But you go to the web page of GELLIFY or the Facebook page. There is a lot. LinkedIn, it's full of
the content. So, great. Well, that's great for people to explore it. Thanks a lot again, Massimo, and all the best.
Thank you very much and have a fantastic day.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you.